As aspiring entrepreneurs, all of us may have ideas. We may have concepts, we may have thought of it on the drive to work, we may have thought of it in the shower, but I think one of the key elements that's going to translate the potential of your idea to be a real company is, does it fill a real need? Is there a real customer? And so that's going to be the focus of what we'll talk about today. When we think about this, to build a successful company, we need something, a product or a service, that satisfies a customer's need or a want at a price that makes sense. And we'll talk about that interplay of needs and wants as well as price. So key questions for identifying a real need is there an unsolved problem? And do you have any evidence or research to support that? Is there a significantly better way of solving that problem that you can bring to market? And can you do it at a sustainably better price? So being cheaper temporarily is not necessarily a great solution because your competitors may simply lower prices as well. But is the way that you're doing it fundamentally different? That you can deliver a sustainably lower price because your expenses are going to be sustainably lower than competitors. So we want to study what's out there. We want to see the needs and wants. One way to do that is to really think about what can we do to get opinions and views from a lot of people. And how can we do that effectively to see a problem? And we want to recognize what are the sources of that pain or aggravation. Are there customer complaints? Are there other clues of an unfulfilled need that we can succeed with as an entrepreneur? A great way of doing that are the product review sites. Now we might find that when we go to sites like this, so if we have an idea for some type of a new speaker system, we don't want to compete directly with Apple and make iPhones, but we want to compete in that iPhone accessory market. And we think that we may have a better way than the other speaker technologies that are out there. And so one way to recognize what is the relative satisfaction level of the market is to go in and read reviews and see what's going on. And so we can search for the iPhone 5 speaker docks and see what's out there. And we can detail that, and we can go through and we can see, in this case, over 1,000 customer reviews that would be nearly impossible to get this level of detail by doing any level of surveys. And if we did do surveys, it would take a lot of time and it would be expensive. What we can do here quite quickly is go online for free and draw what conclusions we can from a variety of customer reviews. We also want to recognize that identifying the need is only the start. That after we've identified it, we really have to think about what can we do about it and consider the future of those and the future of those needs. We want to gather information about preferences and customer preferences, and we want to evaluate those preferences and think about what are they telling us via interviews, via focus groups, where we might bring a small group of people together to have a conversation, or via surveys. And think about not only what are they saying now, but what does that mean in the future? How do we build a solution that's going to last? And we also want to recognize that customers may not entirely understand what they want and what the solution is. So we have to exercise some of our own ability and some of our own insight to forecast what's out there, or recognize what are the values or the core needs and wants that we need to forecast and think about in the future. There are tremendous resources in the space in an internet age. This is a small snapshot of the types of resources that you have access to that are a combination of government resources, private sector resources, in large part free resources, where you can learn about companies and products and markets and customers. And it's a rather endless list. Here this is categorized by looking at the federal in the US as well as statistics from Europe and abroad, of looking at various public library resources as well and large data sets. So you have tremendous access to understand industries and markets today. So we need to focus, we need to research, and we need to use a bit of intuition. We don't need to meet every customer need that's imaginable. A customer might have 10 needs, but they're only really willing to pay for 5. And we might only really have a good idea to how to serve 4 of those. Or to get to that 5th one, it may take a year. But if we wait that long, the competitor may beat us to it. So that's where, again, you don't need to meet every need imaginable. You may never be able to get there. And if you do get there, you may be too late, Or if you do get there early and you try and do everything, it may be more expensive than customers are willing to bear. So for that, we want to focus on products and services that we can create and launch successfully in the relatively near term. That we can create a minimally viable product, launch it, get feedback, iterate, and do it again. And that we recognize our first product or service is not our last product and service. Most of what we buy today is the second version, the fourth version, the fifth version. So in that context too, we don't want to be too preoccupied with trying to build a perfect solution. So we want to fulfill the preferences that matter, and we want to think about what can we add and what can we enhance and what is important versus other features or functions that are important. We also want to think about segmentation and what is it that different customers want. We're probably not going to have a one-size-fits-all solution. So in this context, when we think about opportunity and when we think about how to satisfy real needs, we want to research creatively. We want to learn from the research that others have done. We want to use our intuition, and we want to think about segmentation. We want to think about where is there a niche, where is there a profile or a category of customer that we can serve and serve successfully.